Ubisoft was once one of the best companies in gaming. They delivered hit after hit throughout the 2000s to the early 2010s when they began to stumble. You can trace this all back to one year, 2014. Specifically 2 games that would irrevocably hurt the reputation of Ubisoft in the eyes of gamers. The years of goodwill that had been built disappeared in the span of 6 months, beginning with the release of Watch Dogs, a game of which the final release was not representative of the marketed product. The game that was revealed at E3 2012 was not the same as the game that was released in May 2014. The game had a lasting impact upon Ubisoft's public perception, as from that point forward you could never trust the gameplay that was shown. It even led to a policy being put in place that any gameplay that is revealed had to be running in real time. Watch Dogs 2 would not hit the same heights in terms of sales as the first game, with the future of the series uncertain as of 2024. The fatal blow to their reputation came from their marquee franchise Assassin's Creed. 2014 saw a different strategy for the release of the series. Ubisoft decided to release 2 games hitting 2 different markets. Assassin's Creed Rogue for the previous generation of the PS3 and Xbox 360, as well as Assassin's Creed Unity for the PS4 and Xbox One. This year was a stress point for the series, that was a breaking point for many. Unity was a release that many would say has the symptoms of modern gaming, mainly that it was released full of bugs and in an unfinished state. To top this off, it was the first title to introduce Helix credits, and the entire game's economy was designed in a way to incentivize their purchase. Activities in Assassin's Creed Unity didn't provide many resources to the player to purchase gear and to power up. Essentially, Ubisoft saying to the player,
"Can I have some money now?"
I just gave you 60 USD. I don't want to spend more money. I just want to be able to play my game in peace. Unity was a title that was meant to be the future of Assassin's Creed, the game that would set the direction for the series' future. In a sense, it did set the tone for the future of Assassin's Creed. The underperformance of this one game and the damage that it did to not just the series, but to Ubisoft, resulted in a break year in 2016. For the first time since 2009, there would be no new Assassin's Creed on shelves. 2014 set the tone for many years to come. It would be an uphill battle to regain broken trust, but if there's anyone who could do it, it's Ubisoft, right? For a time, Ubisoft got back on track, revitalizing the Assassin's Creed franchise with Origins and Odyssey, delivering the best Watch Dogs game in Watch Dogs 2, an eventually beloved live service in The Division, a new Breath of the Wild-inspired franchise in Immortals Fenyx Rising, and for many, the definitive Ghost Recon in Wildlands. Now, the question I'm sure you're asking, how does what happened in 2014 relate to 2024? Well, Ubisoft is still suffering from the same issues now as they were then. Ubisoft is a company that's out of touch with the expectations of gamers. They were once at the forefront of excitement, but now are the laughingstock of gamers. I myself equate their games to the junk food of gaming. They aren't top of the pile games anymore. That one game you were excited to dig into and hotly anticipate? Instead, they are filler games. Titles you play as a sort of palate cleanser. The type that you would purchase at a discount and be very happy with while you listen to a podcast. When you play a Ubisoft game, are you engaged? Do you feel fulfilled? The answer for me is no. In fact, I feel that their games, especially the stories that were being told, have become bland and repetitive. I always go to Assassin's Creed Mirage with this, as the title is best representative of the issue. The series as a whole feels like it has stopped trying to enter new and interesting territory, and instead just regurgitates the same type of story over and over again. They aren't saying anything new, and haven't been for a long time. The only thing more offensive than a story that is poorly conveyed is one that's boring and doesn't have anything to say. The Last of Us Part 2, for all the shit it gets, at least it was trying to say something, and take some risks. Quality at launch was a big issue in 2014, and it's still a big issue in 2024. Why is this the case? Well, Ubisoft is a publicly held company. So, for the layman, a publicly held company is hosted on the stock exchange, and individuals or groups have the ability to purchase shares, giving them a stake in the company's operations. The more shares you own, the more control you have over the company's activities. For instance, the two biggest shareholders for Ubisoft are the Guillemot family, with 13.8% of holdings, and Tencent with 9.76%. If Ubisoft is doing well, your investment is doing well. The price of these shares is affected by a variety of factors, in and out of control of Ubisoft. If they release a game and it's very well received and sells well, the stock will go up. However, if they release an okay game and it misses expectations, the stock goes down. If there is a big scandal involving the company, stocks go down. But the big expectation with a publicly held company is that it's expected to grow. Every quarter, the investors want to hear about how well the company is doing. Growth is easy to manage, for a time. Eventually though, a company hits a point where they may begin to stagnate, and the priorities of the shareholders and growth take precedence over the product. When Ubisoft released 2 Assassin's Creed games in 2014, that was in the name of growth. When they intended to release both Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows in 2024, that was also with the intention of growth. These products, however, as indicated by the frustrations many have with Star Wars Outlaws, are that they are releasing undercooked. Releasing a game with an early access window and then losing all progress from that period because of a bug is unacceptable. Ubisoft had become a company no longer concerned with the quality of their product, and how this affects their reputation. How does a company under the same leadership as a decade ago make the same mistakes? It's ironic that this one line came from them.
Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change.
You can't tell me that for as long as open world games have existed that you have not dreamed of an open world Star Wars game. That should have been a slam dunk. If it had been released a decade ago, it would have cleaned up the competition. Its underperformance, however, can't be attributed solely to its quality, but also a degree of oversaturation with Star Wars in general. I grew up with Star Wars. I love that franchise. But I'm not interested in all of it anymore. Star Wars used to be an event. Now it's not special anymore. Star Wars Outlaws was the domino that potentially changed the fate of the entire company for years to come. Its underperformance was the last straw for an investment group called AJ Investments. In response to its underperformance, they would release a letter voicing their dissatisfaction. As stated in this excerpt from the letter, "We believe that Ubisoft is a great company developing, distributing, and selling video games. Ubisoft has long-standing history with providing great experience for players all around the world. Their IP, such as Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Tom Clancy's Just Dance, Crew, Rayman, and others are extraordinary and can attract millions of players over time. However, we believe that Ubisoft at current valuation is deeply undervalued and should be worth between €40 to €45 per share. The main reason why the valuation is so low compared to the peers is that Ubisoft at current state is mismanaged and shareholders are hostages of the Guillemot family members and Tencent who take advantage of them. Management is focused on pleasing investors with beating quarterly results, and not focusing on long-term strategy to provide exceptional experience for the gamers. Our company has extensive knowledge about the gaming industry and we were a long-term shareholder in Activision Blizzard. And we started our Ubisoft position a couple weeks ago, and are still adding to it. We cannot understand the decision-making process of current management that is focused on releasing multiple average games per year that are harming Ubisoft's reputation among gamers in the community, instead of focusing to provide hit games within its exceptional franchise portfolio. Division Heartland, which was very much an expected game from the gamers, was cancelled. Skull and Bones' release was not a success. Prince of Persia Lost Crown was okay, but not very impressive as nobody talks about the game anymore. Rainbow Six Siege is doing great. Nevertheless, franchises such as Rayman, Splinter Cell, For Honor, Watch Dogs are sleeping for years despite these games being loved by millions all around the world. The latest release of Star Wars Outlaws is expected to bring good numbers, but recent reviews show that the game was not 100% ready to release, despite the fact that the whole world was waiting for an open-world game under the Star Wars franchise. The Metacritic rating was 76%, and IGN has a 7 out of 10 rating, which is quite a good rating in our view. The big takeaways of this letter are that Ubisoft have a lot of IP that are recognizable and nowhere to be seen. The company is currently undervalued because of their actions and haste to release games, even if they are not at the level of quality that is expected. And finally, the Guillemot family as well as Tencent leverage their controlling stake in the company to prioritize pleasing investors over the quality and reputation of their product. There are 4 solutions that AJ Investments proposed for the current predicaments of Ubisoft in their letter. Firstly, convert Ubisoft from a publicly traded company into a privately held one. This process would see them delisted from the stock exchange, and ownership is given to one individual or a group of individuals. This would be very costly to engage in, as Ubisoft would then have to pay out the shares of all investors at an agreed upon valuation. But operating as a privately held company has a number of advantages over being publicly traded. Firstly, there is less oversight. You don't have to publicly report finances every quarter, and therefore you don't necessarily need to have a product out to boost your statistics every 3 months. Ubisoft would no longer need to cater to never-ending economic growth. As a privately held company, you have a greater degree of control over your operations, and there's less people involved that you need to answer to. The second option is a sale of the company. Who would be able to buy Ubisoft is an interesting question. They are such a big company that it would be catastrophic for any other gaming entity to purchase them. Many people would lose their jobs if that were to occur. The third option is that management needs to change. Now, Ubisoft's management is an entirely different video. There's been reports of management at Ubisoft being very poor, with many claims of sexual harassment in recent years, people being dismissive of ideas. It's a whole other issue. Yves Guillemot has been in charge for many years. Maybe it's time for retirement to let new ideas grow within the company. The final option is an investor revolt against the Guillemot family to eventually get the company sold. We'll touch on this again later. AJ Investments have clearly scared the company into action. This is evident with the recent delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Speculation of a delay began on the 24th of September as Ubisoft suddenly cancelled their hands-on previews that were scheduled for that week. It was rather swift and very odd. That very same day, the Ghost of Yotei is revealed and coming in 2025. Suddenly, Ubisoft is shitting their pants. The other big franchise set in Japan is going to release in proximity to them and eat their lunch. Then, on the 25th, the delay is confirmed. Now Assassin's Creed Shadows is launching on the 14th of February 2025, was originally meant to release in November. The reasons for delaying the title are stated in the following letter. Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us. Finally bringing the series to feudal Japan with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour of the renewed stealth, brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful and immersive world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of 2 unique protagonists. But we realize we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As such, we've made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14th, 2025. The game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam at launch. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded, and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. We understand this decision will come as disappointing news, especially to those who've been waiting patiently for an Assassin's Creed game, inspired by feudal Japan. We sincerely believe that this is in the best interest of the game, and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we are looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Naoe and Yasuke. Until then, we thank you for your ongoing support. Mark Alexis Coate on behalf of all teams working on Assassin's Creed Shadows. This delay is very clearly motivated by fear. Ubisoft in recent years have begun to stake everything on Assassin's Creed. For a lack of a better term, they bet everything on Red. This franchise is their golden goose. It prints money. They can't afford to run it into the ground again. The series is going yearly again. There's like 6 or 7 games in various stages of development, including 2 remakes. Apparently one for Black Flag and one for the original. Going back to yearly releases for Assassin's Creed is maybe the worst thing they could do for the series. I think that general sentiment is that people are ready for something new from the franchise. The RPG formula is starting to wear a bit thin. How long until the franchise is oversaturated again like in 2014? Shadows had to have been in what I will refer to as a serviceable state. It would have launched with a series of issues that would have been addressed by Feb. The delay just allows the opportunity to iron it out. This game doesn't live and die by its quality, but the next game does. If Assassin's Creed Shadows were to release and underwhelm, Ubi would yet again be in the same position as 2014 with Unity. They would be forced to reevaluate future plans for the series and reignite interest a second time. It seems that the performance of Assassin's Creed Shadows is tantamount for the future of Ubisoft. If the game doesn't perform, they will be in big trouble. It's the first Ubisoft game in many years to release day one on Steam. They're foregoing getting all revenue in hopes that it results in higher sales on PC. The act of making the first expansion free indicates that pre-orders may have been lower than projected, and perhaps that's a factor that has scared Ubisoft into action. As of the 25th of September, Ubisoft have the beginnings of an investor revolt on their hands. This report comes from Reuters, who have been sent another letter by AJ Investments. From this letter, we can establish a few things. Firstly, Ubisoft is in the midst of a revolution. How ironic for a French company to be in the midst of revolt because of inequity.
Yeah, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme. Every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
The fact that it even got to this point is indicative of how dissatisfied shareholders are with the current performance of Ubisoft, which as of this video has lost 30% of its value just this month in September. Truth be told, I want Ubisoft to put out great games. I would love it if they would break out of the junk food gaming rut they've been trapped in for many years. I want them to succeed. But they make it very hard to support their products at full price when they aren't fulfilling. I'm going to be candid. I wrote this video 3 times over the last few weeks because each time I was dissatisfied with it to a degree. One angle had it running through everything from 2014 to now. One version focused heavily on the letter from AJ Investments. Hell, while writing this final version, the second letter came out. New news items would come out or I just wasn't passionate about its structure. So if you've watched this video, thank you. I really appreciate your time and support in watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more gaming news and analysis.